All right, everybody, welcome on back here this Thursday, September 24th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, guys. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Quick sound check, as always, to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. Already from Pat, loud and clear from him. Great to see Pat, Greg, Matthew from before, who just picked up 16 cents on the DPW trade. You guys see here on the platform. Great to see all of us rejoining the trading room, Donnie as well, and all of us tuning in on social media too, Facebook Live and YouTube. Welcome on back. So, not really a class day. I can take my sweet time, unlike yesterday. So let's hop into DPW to begin, guys. I will say it's been pretty slow this afternoon. We had a hell of a morning. I will also say that not every morning we will catch an SPI. You'll understand what I mean by that in just a moment. But to begin, DPW, it's on the screen now. It's making a bit of a run this afternoon. So I'm actually going to copy and paste not the news from necessarily this morning, but the news from yesterday at 11:30 Eastern time. So it's the latest headline I see. DPW shares spiked to session high. This again from yesterday. Traders circulate that the stock is a sympathy play with the runner SPI Energy following news of SPI's new electric vehicle subsidiary. DPI's Digital Power Corp involved in the electric vehicle charger sector. I'll tell you, though, that last little news bit is news to me. I did not realize that myself until right this very second. So I just copied and pasted the news for all of us on social media, but nice pop. I mean, we ended up seeing DPW move yesterday, I guess, in sympathy, but it wasn't nearly the biggest move that ended up moving alongside that SPI. Remember the Pola trade, Sun W. I mean, those are the top two on the gainers list right now. But DPW getting a little push here this afternoon so far. So far, pop and drop from 250. I was saying to you guys here in the trading room just a moment ago, 250 is going to be that big resistance heading into this afternoon. So already a false breakout from it. Maybe you'll kind of pull back, hold underneath 250 a bit longer, and then who knows, maybe around 315, 330. We'll see it hopefully make that big push. So for right now, DPW definitely going to put on our list. Now, I actually will do this. How about this? It was such a special run yesterday. I assume that most, if not every one of us inside the trading room has at this point realized that we ended up calling out trading the SPI from yesterday. But for anyone on social media, perhaps joining us for the first time, I want to start with this because it's not every day that you end up seeing a stock that moves up over 4,000% from start to finish. We ended up seeing the SPI, I mean, even in pre-market off the 8 a.m. news pop, we called it out right from the pop. So from like $2, ended up moving up towards a pre-market high of 4. That's where a lot of us ended up doing well nonetheless. You happen to see the chart. It exploded after the open, only continued to push up later on throughout the afternoon. For as much as it went up, though, obviously, well, ended up getting halted on the way down, and that was not necessarily a volatility halt. That was a news halt. So we ended up seeing a gap down about like 45 minutes later. That was actually right during the middle of this meeting yesterday. You guys chatted back to me saying, hey, SPI's open. Boom, dropped down like $10. Now, I bring this up today, guys, because, well, not only did we have Sun W and Pola, which I'll get to in a moment, but really the one that piqued my interest the most this morning was NETE. It's up 22% right now, but that's not nearly as much as it was earlier today. So the news on NETE, just allow me a quick sec, folks, to copy and paste. So the news on NETE here, Net Element M&A Target Mullen Technologies, I guess that's the full name, announces to begin construction of electric vehicle pilot facility. Remember, we were saying anytime that the word EV or the phrase EV, electric vehicle, is in the headline nowadays, it leads to this ginormous squeeze up. I mean, we said that this meeting here yesterday. So, with NETE, holy smokes, this ended up popping right from the get-go, but moved all the way up towards 17 and above. Well, for a stock that's up as much as this was leading into the open, it's no surprise that it's going to pull back. I mean, we talk about that all the time here in our weekly Traders Talk workshop. So this not only pulled back at the open, it got halted, reopened up 5 minutes later, dropped off more, and got halted again. But doesn't mean that the stock is going to continue to push up over time. This only continued to dump off, as you could see. So I ended up jumping in this trade. I took 2 losses, tiny on a half-sized position. I made it back, but not really a whole lot. So, the wins outweighed the loss, but still, this was very shaky. I stopped trading after that point when it ended up re-breaking under a big support I drew here off 11. And from there, look at where it is now. So I hate to say it, guys, not every time do we catch an SPI that moves across the whole day from start to finish. If anything, for a stock that's up this much, we talked about it yesterday on SPI. It's going to tank at 9:30, and then the hope is to see the pop back up later on. But yeah, full retracement down to yesterday's high. If anything, actually, looking at this right now, yesterday's high 789, the high back from September 9th 798. I mean, for being honest here, it actually looks as if it's at a pretty strong support this afternoon right now. But I'm not going to be teased by it too much, guys. I mean, if anything, it might make like a quick little dollar jump and then probably tank back down. I'll keep this on my list for tomorrow for next week. I mean, how could you not given the range? But, I'm not going to throw a dart on the wall and hope it lands. You know what I mean? So we're going to move on from this one, at least for right now. So number 1 and 2, though, Sun W and Pola, those were the two that were pushing up with the SPI from yesterday. It was pretty much more so going into the afternoon. So I'll kind of just show this at first. But we ended up seeing this make the squeeze up yesterday. Very similar to SPI's afternoon run, moved all the way up, got halted on the way down, and then gapped down that much lower. So these were really sympathy plays here. On the flip side, though, whereas SPI continued to kind of dump off this morning, these ended up pushing up much more in pre-market. And because I thought it was going to dump off leading into this morning, guys, I know a bunch of us killed it on this trade. I didn't focus on this right at 9:30 myself. So unfortunately, I missed out on this run. We were calling this out and following it from pre-market. So it was a fairly simple trade based on the liquidity in pre-market. But I thought it was going to dump off much more after 9:30. It did, but pushed up after. So nice run. I think this got halted like 2 or 3 times as well afterwards, though. Kind of similar to yesterday. The more times it gets halted on the way up, eventually it's going to get halted on the way down. When it gets halted on the way down, usually reopens up a lot lower. Let's just kind of zoom in on this chart here quick. Let's see. Got halted here, reopened up higher, and then it slammed down. Oh, and then I thought this was a halt here. I guess no halt. Nope, from there squeezed up again. But eventually, as the volume waned down, this wasn't a halt as well. But this really started to see like the beginning of the end of this run. So it ended up holding the resistance off of 8 essentially, and then from there's the dump. All right, what else do we have here, guys? Pola, P-O-L-A, same thing. I guess this is kind of squeaking back up for what it's worth right now, but similar move. It ended up dumping off at the open, popped up right away after. I missed the run myself. A few of us jumped in and out pretty quickly. I know that you guys were saying that you left some money on the table, but it's better to leave money on the table than have it washed all off the table and then some. So, this ended up dying off quickly in terms of the volume and then the trend from there too. So, yeah, it's kind of making a push back up right now. You could see maybe a little bit of a squeeze. It's pretty interesting that the SPI trade, it's right at 15 as well, which is pretty much right near yesterday's close. And even the NETE trade, I'm not going to get teased by these though, guys. I mean, they might all make like a little bit of a squeak up, but I'm not fully convinced that they're going to make that big push that we're really looking for. So we'll kind of skip over these for right now. Number 3, we'll jump into this right away, guys. I mean, we didn't really have the greatest afternoon. We had a decent morning with those stocks and with a couple of the vaccine stocks, which I'll get to, like the INO, the VXRT. We've been calling those out, more on than off even. But this JE stock, Just Energy, I mean, it's pretty interesting. This was down 95% last week. 95%. You heard that right. I mean, you see it on the daily chart from 7 down to like 20 cents. So for a stock down that much, you have to think it's going to make a bit of a squeeze. The shorts will cover and take their big profits, but it didn't even make that much of a jump up this day. It was more so today, and in pre-market, it actually made the bigger squeeze up to $1, back down, but still had some life left to it after the open. So we ended up seeing this make a pop after 9:30, 40 up to 60, back down and right back up. So, keep a good eye on this stock, perhaps going into tomorrow, all of next week. It's not to say that it's going to just perfectly squeeze up day over day, but anytime you see that big of a gap, might take a day or two, maybe a week, but you hope to see even a fraction of that gap filled. So, if I could even have this up to like $2 or $1.75, I would be elated. That would be a giant home run hit for us, right? So, we see these stocks all the time. JE, I mean, we ended up seeing the STSA trade from a few weeks ago, and then it ended up kind of pumping up and down yesterday. But yeah, a couple weeks back, dropping down 85% and made the big squeeze up. So, you got to try and follow the volume. In the case of JE today, we ended up seeing a nice squeeze up. But yeah, for right now, pretty flat. 362 million shares also. Pretty big volume. All right. Peck, pump and dump, super low float, guys, on this one. And alongside, I think it was the NETE2. If I'm not mistaken, NETE had like a 3.38 or 3.88 million share float. Peck, 2.5 million share float. That's it. That's super low, regardless of what you deem low float or not. You have some instructors out there, mentors, they'll say 20 million, 30 million, 10. The lower the float, the bigger the spread it could be, and the order book more thin, and the more pump and dump issue will be. So, I mean, to me, absolutely no surprise here. This got halted like 6, 7 times on the way up. So at some point when it gets halted on the way down, that gap is going to be much bigger. All right, CBAT. This one ended up making a much bigger run. I kind of similar to the others, right? This one we didn't really call out as much yesterday afternoon. We scanned it. We did call it out once, but the others were, a lot more volatile, a lot more volume filled on that. But CBAT here today ended up making the pop with the rest of them, but ended up moving up a little bit higher later on. Moved off the dollar support up towards the high of the day, 130-ish, we'll call it, 135. From there, the big pop and breakout. At this point, though, kind of same thing. Volume died off. I mean, maybe keep it on the side, but I would only expect this to drop off later on today. All right, OMI, look at this. Still pretty active here, dropping off steadily. It is shortable. What's the news on this? I didn't even see the news on this. I don't mind checking Benzinga Pro right now for this one. OMI, what's the news? All right, so earnings. Okay, I didn't have them on my calendar. They're not one that I really have looked at in the past with earnings. We looked at BlackBerry today. We looked at Rite Aid today. Decent list as far as earnings, but this one too. So it looks like the EPS beat, the revenue you would assume to beat as well. They also raised guidance across the rest of the 2020 year. I find that to be just as important, if not more. We ended up seeing obviously a huge run from this point after the market opened up from low of the day 1910 all the way up towards just over 22. But for right now, guys, tailing off, profits are being taken. Perhaps it had dropped off maybe a little bit with the market going into the afternoon, but either way you cut it, it's shortable. So for right now, I don't mind putting this on our watch list. Doesn't mean this will be like number one, but definitely still interesting. All right, PPSI, same thing. I mean, this is more of an afternoon move here, a lot more volume coming in. So definitely for right now, we'll put this on our list as well. A little bit of a spread here and there. Otherwise, for the meantime, the liquidity checks out. Order on the ask at 2, probably going to be a lot bigger than the 9,400 that you happen to see there. Oh, and also, I guess while we're at it, we'll take a look at the TradeStation volume bars here. A lot of volume filled right off 185, 188, probably even 190, you could even say. 190 has most recently made a pop and drop from there. So keep a good eye on that 190 level, guys. From there, next level ahead is 2. For the meantime, again, I'll put this on. Oh, and also is shortable, I guess, like the OMI. So if this ends up crapping out the other way, then same to be said. All right. LOGC, Logic. CEI, a little squeeze up earlier, a little push up right now, but not doing it for me. Look at this. EXAS, nice pop and run earlier today. I guess would be earnings related. I don't know. Pretty expensive though. Very heavily traded so far this afternoon. Over 12 million shares total, but it is pushing back up to the highs. So, hey, if you tend to follow the more expensive stocks, then put this on your personal watch list. I mean, I like the pattern on the chart. The spread's pretty big. I mean, that's not to be surprised by though, given the price. All right, what else do we have, guys? NETE, we went over. DPW on our list. That looks pretty good. All right, let's just skim through what else we have here. Any thing like name brand or anything, just familiar name at least? Mara, Bitcoin stock. We've been talking about this. Nice recovery today, pushing back up. Still on my Riot swing trade myself. I'm in from 333 or 332, down a little bit right now, but I'm very bullish long term. So just keeping you updated on that. OPTT Ocean, is it Ocean Power Technology? Yeah. So this ran yesterday with the rest of them. The thing that's catching my eye here, obviously it's moving up and volume coming in, but it's breaking over whole number $1. So I want to take a look. Do we have even any volume filled off one? 93, 96, 97, 99. Oh my goodness. There's a few prints here, but there's really not much volume filled off one. I would figure off this pop here, there would be a lot more volume filled from the offer in green. Well, for right now, it's over $1. I mean, this could be a really nice squeeze up, perhaps heading into the afternoon. I don't mind putting this on our list, perhaps near the bottom, but yeah, we'll keep a smaller eye on this one, OPTT. All right. IDEX, kind of familiar name. We traded this, I think, maybe a couple months back. Yeah, I see on the daily chart, pop and drop. All right. Anything else catching my eye here? Blue Apron, familiar name. Spotty chart, though. Spread's tight for right now, but not really doing it for me here, guys. AYRO, familiar name. Pop and drop, low volume. JBL, this one's off of earnings. Ooh, this one's looking good. And Pat, great minds think alike there, right here in our chat board. He wrote that right as I turned over to it. So, yeah, JBL, right off earnings too. This is the last one I had on my earnings calendar for this morning. I didn't trade it. I ended up focusing in on Rite Aid. I was in on the vaccine stocks, and of course, like NET, I was looking at. So, it's easy for me to say, but dropped off after the open from 33.50, bounced, from $1 from there, 32.50. And obviously near the highs of the day going into this afternoon, it looks pretty strong. I would say this stock has had a hard time clearing over resistance off 35, though. 35.16, the high back from August 28th. Pulled back from there the following day. Pop and drop once again here. The following day dropped. So 35 seems to be a pretty strong level historically. All right, I think that just about does it on the gainers list, guys, here. If there's anything else that's up that looks really good that I may have skipped over or that might be popping right now, just let me know. Type it in the chat board. All right, let's see what else we have on the losers list here, guys. Down 28%. I'll just take a look. GLNG, it's down enough to maybe consider dead cat bounce or maybe a short if you're able to get the shares. Either way, I mean, this looks great. So GLNG, I don't know what the news is, but we're kind of tight on time. So I'm just going to put this on our list for right now, guys. I mean, you hear me say it all the time. I like posting the news just to keep all of us informed. But I mean, my personal MO is when you have the time to look at the news, go for it. But right now, this is right at the lows of the day. This is a great setup, so to say. The news isn't going to make me buy or short the stock. It's going to be the volume that gets filled and the direction that the stock is moving in. So, for right now, I would say the stock is pretty much right off support around 729, 730-ish. You have an order on the bid there at 725 as well. All right, Rite Aid. This was one of my better trades from this morning. I took the under and over from 11. I went long from 11.02 out at 11.44. I missed the short. This wasn't one of the first stocks I was really interested in either, but I was flipping through my level 4, my book map, and I just turned over to it at the right time. But pretty flat for right now. This one's not doing as much. Ooh, look at Party City. I don't know if Fausto would put this on the watch list because normally he's not as keen to short stocks below 5. Old rule used to be that you can't entirely. There are some platforms and brokers that still restrict traders from shorting stocks below 5. There's no restriction here. It's easy to borrow. Party City at the lows of the day. So, if anything, I'd say this is like more of a level 1 to 2 stock. I mean, more level 1, if anything, right now. So for any of our new traders inside our room, if you guys are inexperienced with shorting a stock, make sure that you guys set your stops, go through the same risk management guidelines, but this would be a really good one to think about. That's it. PEIX number 42 on the list here, a little bit down further, but familiar name. Nah. All right, guys, I think that just about does it. I'll check out briefly the airlines and cruise lines, but it's been slow. I mean, the market I could see is still pulling back a bit. Maybe we'll get some traction on like a Neo, a Workhorse. Neo is super slow right now too. Man, not worth it. Workhorse probably be a bit more volatile. Penn National Gaming was down big actually here today. They're kind of near the lows. You know what? I'll tell you. I'll put this on our list here too. Penn National, a little bit pricier, but it's getting close to the lows of the day right now. Actually, the low of the day is 62.58. Looks like at the market open, it like spiked right down there. But, aside from that one little spike, I mean, 63 is our main level. It's getting pretty close. It's a good setup. I like this one. Penn National Gaming, the news on this, I don't need to copy and paste. I just remember they ended up issuing common stock offering. There was like a very large amount as far as like money, as far as that goes. But let's see. 14 million share common stock offering. That was it. All right, so from RJF on YouTube, welcome back. He says NETE reversing. Well, there we go. That's what I was saying going into this meeting, guys. The stock might make a little, dollar pop from 8, seemed to have been a historical level. So that's what we were initially talking about, but I'm not as keen on putting this on our list. Very pump and dumpish. I could see this, maybe breaking over 9, but snapping back down. I love the range, so definitely I'll keep it in mind for tomorrow. Definitely I'll keep it in mind for early next week at least, but yeah, for the meantime. I mean, hey, if you got in off 8 during the meeting, God bless, because that's that was the setup. But me personally, I'm not as jumpy to it. Chuck, 10 cents on the DPW trade just before with us here inside the trading room. He got in from 251. Got out at 261 there. Excellent. Really good exit. Nice. All right, from Chuck Z inside the trading room, really quick here, guys. How do you guard against a halt gap down situation? The simplest answer I can give you, Chuck, is to not trade it. Now, what exactly do you mean by that? I mean, how do you not trade a stock that's up like 3,000%? Well, it's easy for me to say, but the more it goes up, it's going to drop. It's going to drop, guys. I mean, yeah, hey, even looking at INO today, even. I actually said to a student inside a coaching session before I was going to jump to this one. So INO, vaccine stock, ended up making a really nice bounce today. I took this trade earlier from the morning. It was my trade on this was from the morning here. I picked up like maybe 20 cents, not a huge profit. I left some on the table, but for what it's worth, ended up moving up very nicely from that same support I had entered from, or essentially from there, 1471. But for as much as this moved up even off this low, when's it going to pull back? When's it going to reverse, right? The only difference between INO and SPI is that INO is down 3.89%, and it was probably down like maybe 0.5% at that point. SPI was up 3,000, 4,000% here. So, for as much as this gets halted on the way up, it's going to drop, and it's going to, get halted on the way down. So, that's where I sit on my hands. For anyone that ended up making some huge money on this stock yesterday with us, which I know there were a few, that made like, let's say like 10, 20 grand on this trade. They were not trading this when it was at 30, 40 bucks as much. They were trading this more when it was on the way up to there, probably getting out or around 20, 25. And then from there, maybe trading smaller shares, maybe reducing the share size greatly there, Chuck. But, we'll talk about that actually in class coming up tomorrow. If not this exact trade, we'll be talking about halts and whatnot, perhaps in the phase 2 stock course tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow morning, rather. Sorry. From Sydney inside our trading room, he's asking, what do you think about Blink? Flat. That's it. Great stock to keep on your side list. So, I was thinking about Blink like really early in pre-market, but, it wasn't really moving that well for me. I wanted to focus on the others, but, good side list stock. It ended up popping up last week, fully back down. So has incredible range. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow, up or down, this ends up making a much more concise move. All right, how about this? I will go one step further. I'm just going to take a look at Benzinga Pro right now on my side monitor here. I don't see much out there, folks. Nothing really breaking a new high, anything looking that fantastic. No familiar names, really. Market is dropping back down right now. I had this one stock TIGR. I was thinking about maybe going into the meeting, but obviously since 1 o'clock even, volume totally vanquished. This stock is going nowhere. All right, folks. Actually, last thing before we part ways, like we had said, we have class on the horizon. That'll be tomorrow, not today, but tomorrow morning and afternoon. But I wanted to welcome one of our new gold students here to Cyber Trading University, one of our new students here to CTU. So I'd like to welcome aboard David C, joining us here live for the first time today, right from Carthage, Illinois. So David, welcome aboard to Cyber Trading University. And with that, I will say for all of our new students, welcome aboard. Alrighty, so with that, guys, we will make sure that the links will be posted early in the morning for class tomorrow, that is. For anybody tuning in on social media, if you guys would like to learn more about what we offer here at Cyber Trading University, the online trading room, the online course room, of course, with that, make sure that you guys contact us right here. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, notify right on our YouTube channel, as always, youtube.com/cybertradingu. And as always, feel more than free to join us right here. All right, guys, I'm going to jump onto a call right here at 3 o'clock. I'll be back on inside the trading room here at 3:30. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.